rise. And the New World Order knows that, and they're afraid. They are afraid. They are cowards, and that's why they seek to take on more and more power. In fact, what was the quote, John, last night you had on the Nightly News? You guys brought me a great quote. That was a powerful quote. Usually John digs up those quotes. When you get a chance, put that on screen. I want to read that. But basically, it is the weak that seek to abuse. It is the weak that seek to dominate. It is the weak. And I am sick and tired of the strong standing back and letting armies of the weak get into giant gangs and overrun us. It's time to defeat these people. They are pathetic. They are ridiculously pathetic and weak and evil. It's the mouse that roared and intimidated the lion into submission, and it makes me want to throw up. It is an honor to fight the New World Order. It is an honor to be demonized. It will be an honor to be destroyed if that's what they do. I fear not those that can kill the body, but he who can kill the soul. And I fear being killed, them having them lie about me and destroy my name for my family and things, but that doesn't matter. They have no future if we don't beat them. And I know in the final equation, my work has already been completed in many ways, and that even though I don't get credit for much of the work we've done, that's the best part, because they can't then destroy my name and destroy the information I have transmitted. The Lord works in mysterious ways. And all the designs of the system that's one-dimensional or two-dimensional or three-dimensional at most cannot contend with the larger plan for the universe. All right, I want to get to this Ron Paul report. We sent our reporters, Darren McBreen, John Bound, and, of course, we also sent Rob Jacobson and Richard Reeves down to the Ron Paul event yesterday that had over 4,000 people at it. Wonderful crowd. He gave a powerful speech. We're going to be airing all that on the Nightly News coming up. So 7 o'clock weeknights at prisonplanet.tv. But the question that Richard Reeves was able to get to, and the only media, because they were going to have some media, they canceled it because Ron Paul was behind on his breakneck, hell-bent tour to get the word out and expose the globalists. That's what Ron Paul's doing. He's already won when it comes to the hearts and minds. I had said, question number one, why haven't you started impeachment calls for Obama launching wars without congressional authorization that violates this article and that article? That was the question I wanted. And then, what are you planning to do that you're winning the delegates? What is the strategy? We want to hear that. Those are the big questions for me. But it works out that Richard, who was able to ask a question, went with something else, because Ron Paul talked about false flag, that being one of his biggest fears, in the speech. We're about to show some of that. And then Richard, as he's getting in the Suburban, was able to ask that question of Ron Paul. And so it ended up working actually perfectly that Richard just, in the moment was able to get that question out. And for those that just joined us or who are going to watch this later and you're like, is that even true, what Richard asked him? Yes. Government secretly prepares to evacuate Chicago during NATO summit. Standby shelters readied for residents. That was leaked to CBS News, but here's my article, and again, we'll put it up on screen for people. Government secretly prepares to evacuate Chicago during NATO summit. Standby shelters readied for residents. Steve Watson, Paul Joseph Watson article, and then you can see right there the CBS link. Click on that for folks right there so they can see that as well. So that is in context, and I don't blame Ron Paul for not knowing about it, because it just broke that day. So there was no way he could probably know about that, but he still said, I am concerned about false flags, and said that in his speech. So here is part of his speech and Richard Reeves' question. And then we'll post the full video tonight at prisonplanet.tv. But for radio listeners, here's the audio. If you're watching at prisonplanet.tv, you can also see it. You can go and watch the free link at Infowars.com right now. But here is excerpts of Ron Paul in Austin last night.
They do the same thing with foreign policy. They come along and they don't talk about non-intervention and minding our own business. They say, oh, you guys are a bunch of isolationists. You don't want to talk to anybody. But guess what? The very people who tell us that we're the isolationists are the ones who are always looking around for another enemy to slay and put on sanctions and start another war. They're the ones who don't want to trade with Cuba. We're the ones that think that it's time to engage in the world and to talk to people and trade with people. So they will try to paint us as uncaring, but let me tell you, people who care will care about liberty. And this will never translate into an absolute majority, but I'm certain that our numbers are growing by leaps and bounds. These prairie fires of freedom are being spread, and there's nothing but good news out there, precariously so, because we don't know exactly. We may have something happen. There may be a false flag incident where some ship goes down and you be used for the excuse to accelerate the next war. And we have to learn to distinguish war propaganda from the truth.
Dr. Paul, today's headline story on Infowars.com is about how the government is planning to secretly evacuate Chicago during the upcoming NATO summit in May. Do you have any comments about that?
I haven't seen that, but I don't know exactly what's behind all that. But those kind of statements concern me.
Could there be potentially another false flag event?
I'm always worried about false flags.
We got to get going, sir.
Paul, you're a hero!
Okay, so we were able to get that question in to Ron Paul. And now we're having InfoWars reporters that are part of the contest all over the country getting questions into Ron Paul. We had one yesterday we aired where he got into Agenda 21 in more detail there. He said, I'm an InfoWars reporter. They just bring him backstage, and Ron Paul goes, one question, and he was able to get it in. So one way or another, we're getting our questions through to Ron Paul. So great job to my crew on that, and a great job on that question from Richard Reeves. And again, we will air the entire speech, time-lapse, video, questions, comments from the crowd, all that sometime next week, because I want to take time to add documents to Ron Paul's speech, video clips, and also put in all the different quotes and comments by people that were out there. Very exciting, all shot in high def, and we'll all air at prisonplanet.tv. Okay, he's been very patient. Gordon in New Jersey, you're on the air. Thank you for holding.
How you doing, Alex?
Good.
Good. I want to do something a little different today. And normally the phone callers come in and they call and they thank you for the great job you're doing. Obviously, I do also. But I want to give a shout out to your wife and your children, where they sacrificed all their time, all your time that you'd be with them, and without the support of them, it would make your job that much harder.
Well, thank you, sir. Again, I really don't need to be thanked. I want to thank all the listeners out there putting up InfoWars signs and putting InfoWars on Federal Reserve notes, it is the dollar, and people, getting the word out and calling into talk radio and going to events and banner hangs and sending out to their email list. That's how we're reaching more people, because I don't want to be all in this fight and then have it fail. And we don't have a choice, but thank you. You heard Ron Paul, and earlier he said it's exploding. Liberty is exploding. That's why the globalists are rushing us right now. Their offensive is a desperate defensive operation. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Good.
But I want to also say, I like to bring up a couple of ideas, especially to your listeners and yourself.
Okay.
Every day I'm in the papers, I'm reading it. You're hearing it on the news, on the internet. You've heard about the Twitter and the raves that are going on. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, tell folks about that.
Well, what it is they usually tweet out a message to get a rave. You get thousands of people in one area.
Yeah, they say, hey, let's go to this area. And then everybody listens down to their own music and dances around. And yeah, why don't people do that for liberty instead of just mindlessly going out and dancing around, acting like morons?
Right.
Is that your idea?
Well, no, my idea would be for all the info warriors out there to maybe, with all the people they know, start a freedom rave. Get out there and get the people out in areas, let the news know. I mean, get the information out.
I totally agree. Start announcing freedom raves, and then maybe everybody just drinks lemonade or something at them and has a good time and meets like-minded people. You don't want to have anything illegal. so the globalists can come in. In fact, they'll probably send people in, but if you do them as flash mobs, I would say have a freedom rave right in front of the county courthouse, or right in front of the Capitol. Hey, we stormed the Capitol twice. We just marched in there ready to be arrested. We're the people. We're marching in to get in your face. No more of this, can we get a permit? Now they have a thing where I announce an event and somebody gets a permit to be there in front of me to claim it's their event and then, claim that I'm crashing their event or something, I mean, but the point is we've just all got to take action. It is so important to do that, and I agree with you. Anything else?
Yeah, one more thing. I just want to also say that, during these elections and everything, you always see these signs, all the candidates are out there. Every corner you go to, there's hundreds of signs, and there's really an eyesore, but you go by and you're always looking at them. Why can't we just have the InfoWarriors put signs up there with Infowars.com in the middle of all these in a different color so they stand out, people look at them?
Yeah, I agree with you. And when the election's over, grab them up. I mean, the globalists already grab up Patriot signs and destroy them. I'm not saying do that or plaster pieces of paper stapled over it with a message. Don't. Founding fathers would do that. We should not do that. We should be very limp-wristed. But no, we can just take the signs when they're done, fold them back over, staple them back, Infowars.com. And I think Infowars.com... I'm always even hesitant to say that's the site. I'm like, well, Ron Paul or other sites. But no, it really is Infowars.com, Prisonplanet.com. It's like learn the truth. Infowars.com, stop the takeover. Warning, Infowars.com. It's just get their attention because it's having an effect. That's why Google's delisted us all over the place. They're trying to block us. All sorts of stuff's happening because they know we're having an effect. They're scared of us. Great job. Listen. I'm getting calls from all over and getting sent photos all over the country. People are just out there with Infowars.com signs. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Alex Jones.
Now, the reason I'm so crazed is I realize just how nasty the globalists are. I mean, I read all their documents, how in the 40s and 50s and 60s, how they would put chemicals in our food and water to dumb us down, reduce our fertility, break up the family. I mean, I've read all the documents. I've sourced them. I've shown you. I mean, these are really nasty people. And they get off on running other people's lives. They enjoy it. You've all run into that type of person who wants to run your life. All I want is to be free and to see other people empowered. But the system wants to make us dependent and teach us there's something wrong with us so they can say that we're not full men or women. That's what this is all about. Let's go to Ed in Arizona. Ahead of more news and an in-studio guest. Ed, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Alex, I'd like to commend you for being a point man on the war against tyranny. It's not a job a lot of people would like to take, but... Well,
a lot of people are going to want to take it if this new world order comes fully into place.
Absolutely. You were talking last week about having to have a permit from the TSA to have a job. I'm a yacht captain. We've had to have permits since 2008 to work under our Coast Guard licenses from the TSA. They call them TWICs, Transportation Workers Identity Cards.
Yeah, they call them TSA inspectors. And now they're going to be over all jobs. They've started in infrastructure protection, like you said, and now they're going to start being everywhere, including, I guess, they're going to try to come here. And it's not happening. I'm done. They're not going to grab my genitals here. And I'm not joking, because it's total submission. It's like, I'm going to rape you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right, but, I mean, that's, like I said, they made captains get these things in 2008, so it's 4 years ago. They actually had Northrop Grumman, defense contractor, was actually running the program, which is ridiculous because the Coast Guard is part of the Homeland Security, so they've actually got, we have to have extensive background checks. And
but you can't have the old Coast Guard giving you a background check to be in those secure ports. It has to be the political police who they admit are going to pull people's contracts and stuff. They have a bill in the MAP bill where they can pass your private info around to anybody they want and spy on Congress. I mean, it's totally criminal.
Yeah, it's, well, they're